The whole idea of execution is to end someone's life, and it's not about the method of the killing. Authorities in charge of executing the criminals have the duty to make sure that the execution is as quick and painless as possible. Even those who have been executing criminals for a very long time aren't always perfect at their job, and things can go wrong. Number 5. Joseph Wood was a convicted killer who in 1989 murdered his girlfriend and her father. In 2014, he was executed in the state of Arizona. At the time, European countries who usually manufacture the drugs to execute criminals had banned the export of drugs used to do such things. This forced the state of Arizona to try and synthesize their own lethal injection drugs given to prisoners for their execution. Wood was one of the first victims to try the newly synthesized drug. Instead of dying within 7 minutes after the injection, it took Joseph Wood an estimated 2 hours before he was pronounced dead. He suffered through 640 gasps before he could finally shut his eyes. Number 4. After World War II, many Nazi war criminals were tried at the Nuremberg trials. Many high officials were sentenced to death. That includes Hermann Göring, who gave the orders to bomb millions of innocent people. However, the person in charge of hanging many of the Nazi officials had gotten his calculations wrong. Instead of them dying painlessly, these war criminals would hang for 15 minutes at the end of the rope, slowly strangling to death. Number 3. Iraq underwent some tough treatments under the Hussein regime. At last, when Saddam Hussein was captured and sentenced to death by hanging method, the world was happy to watch. Saddam was not the only person to be executed. His brother Barzan Ibrahim was responsible for murdering 148 Shiite Muslims and was also sentenced to death. However, his hanging went a little different. The executioner misjudged the length of the loop, which would go around his neck. Instead of Barzan falling through the small trapdoor, he fell so fast that it caused his neck to break and the rope to rip his head right off. Number 2. In the mid-1500s, the son of Lady Margaret Pole had refused to accept that the king's marriage to Anne Boleyn was legal. King Henry had sent men to capture him, but they couldn't get to him because he escaped to France. Instead, the men went after his mother, Lady Margaret Pole. She was sentenced to be beheaded in 1541. As the mother's head laid on the wood, with the side of her neck facing upwards, the executioner was inexperienced, so he missed her neck several times, chipping away her shoulders instead and cutting off part of her head before he could finally slash her head off. Number 1. The electric chair was invented in 1880. It was an alternate method for hanging and was meant to kill criminals in the most painless manner. In 1997, Pedro Medina was a murderer in Florida who received the death penalty by electrocution. Usually what happens is a wet sponge is placed on top of the criminal's head and on top of it a metallic cap. Medina experienced 2 minutes of slow death as he just would not die. As the executioner pulled the switch on, Medina's head was inflamed. People could smell burning flesh. The executioner was forced to stop the current, but after 2 minutes, Medina died. It was later reported that the sponge that was put on top of his head was not wet enough. Thanks for watching the video and stay updated by subscribing to us.